Still your mind if you want to pray. Send all cares far away. Sing then, love's ever near. Isis comes, await the day. Isis comes, await the day. Mother comes, await the day.
Still your mind if you want to pray. Send all cares far away. Sing then, love's ever near. Isis comes, await the day. Isis comes, await the day. Mother comes, await the day.
Still your heart if you want to pray. Send all cares far away. Sing then, love's ever near. Isis comes, await the day. Isis comes, await the day. Mother comes, await the day.
Still your heart if you want to pray. Send all cares far away. Sing then, love's ever near. Isis comes, await the day. Isis comes, await the day. Mother comes, await the day. Still your soul if you want to pray.
Still your soul if you want to
Still your soul if you want to pray.
Still your soul if you want to pray. Still your soul if you want to pray. Still your soul if you want to. Still your soul if you want to. Still your soul if you want to pray.
Isis comes, await the day.
Isis comes, await the day. Mother comes, await the day.
Good morning again, friends. Welcome to Sunday service. Welcome to those joining us online. I'm going to read a passage from Rays of the Same Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda and written by Swami Kriyananda. This week's topic is Dogmatism versus Common Sense. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. In the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 7, Jesus warns, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them." Jesus here, as indeed many times during his teaching, counsels people to use their God-given common sense and not to rely on high-flown but undemonstrable claims. Common sense goes beyond abstract reason, for it is rooted in actual experience. Even common sense, however, is deficient when the judgment called for goes beyond sensory experience. Ultimately, what he emphasized always, therefore, was intuitive perception. Thus, he expected more of his disciples than crude common sense, and often scolded them for being too literal-minded, as he did elsewhere when they thought his statement, "I have meat to eat ye know not of," meant he had steaks or sandwiches secreted about his person. His reference, of course, was to spiritual, not material substance. Words, even though appearing in the scriptures, are no substitute for direct perception of truth. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 2nd chapter, "The sage who knows God has as little need for the scriptures as one might have for a pond when the whole land is covered in flood." Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
This is one of the most beautiful passages in the Bhagavad Gita. The Dharmadas just read, "The sage who knows God has as little need for the scriptures as one might have for a pond when the whole land is covered in flood." We can't just read the scriptures and quote them and debate them and call them up in response to what someone else is doing, to tell them why they're wrong, which is very appealing sometimes. But we have to internalize the scriptures. We have to become a living scripture. There's a beautiful story of Lord Rama in the Indian scriptures. Lord Rama is an incarnation of God come to earth to help people. And his devotee is the monkey god Hanuman. And Hanuman has tremendous devotion for Lord Rama. And he helps him to rescue Rama's wife when she's stolen. It's a whole epic story, fabulous story, the Ramayana. But the part that I want to mention is that Hanuman at one point goes down on one knee and opens his massive chest. He's a god after all. He opens his chest and reveals his heart. And on his heart is written Rama, 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 Rama. That is his heart. It is given to Rama. There's a similar story in the Christian tradition of St. Francis. I love this story too. St. Francis was the poverello, the poor little one. He didn't have any property. He only had the rags that he was dressed in. He wandered, he begged for food. He was the poor little one. But his life was given to God, and he loved Jesus with his whole being. Well, and he was doing this, he was living this life in accordance to Jesus' words, "Take no thought for the morrow, what you shall eat or wear. Don't the birds of the air, aren't they taken care of by our Heavenly Father?" And so he was living that life. And he attracted an amazing following of people who gave up everything to live for God. So Francis was wandering the countryside one day, and a poor woman came up to him. And she said, "Please, sir, give me something, anything that I can sell. I can't feed my children. Surely you must have something you can give me." Well, Francis had nothing except he had his Bible. It was his dearest possession in the whole world. It was his only possession. And he gave it to her. And she said, "Thank you, sir. Now I can feed my children." And as Francis was walking away, he was lamenting Jesus. He said, "I've given away your word." And Jesus appeared to him and said, "Don't worry, Francis. I have written my word on your heart." So that's what we need to strive to do. To not just read and think and ponder and debate and all of these sorts of things. We need to take it in and live it. These teachings work marvelously if we practice them. If we don't practice them, it's just another thought, just another theory, just another adventure, a story, a movie that we watch and then we forget about. But if we internalize it, eventually the word, that Bible that Francis had, he had no more need of it than he would need a pond when the whole land is covered in flood. He became a living scripture. So Swami, in this reading, talks a lot about how we should not just accept the teachings, but make them our own, live them, and experiment with them so that we can develop intuitive perception. There's a great story about Master Yogananda, our guru here, and he one day was in conversation with a fundamentalist preacher. And the preacher was saying, every single word in the Bible is absolute. And it's what God is saying, and it's perfectly true, down to the last word. And Yogananda said, well, what about the snake talking to Eve in the Garden of Eden? And the minister said, in those days, snakes could talk. And Master said, I bow to the colossal temple of ignorance I see before me. Every word in the Bible is true, but we have to know the inner meaning. And that's one of the things that Yogananda did. That's why we have these readings every week that talk about the similarities between the Indian scriptures of Krishna and the Western Bible of Jesus. Very funny, isn't it, that it's the Western Bible when Jesus was in Israel? Anyway. This world is just upside down. Anyway, what we need to do then is to make ourselves use our God-given common sense. We can't just be up in the clouds with spirituality. We have to make it real. And by practicing intuition, we start to become intuitive. So if you have a question, for example, What should I do? Well, it's important to meditate and be very calm so that there isn't a lot of thwarting energy in your aura, in your field. Make yourself very, very calm. Practice the techniques of this path. Become very still. Be still and know that I am God. That's how you can listen to that quiet voice of intuitive perception that comes from God and understand what we should do. So first meditate, become very calm, very still, and then mentally hold up to that light of God, to that, the best perception that you have of God. Hold up that question, what should I do? And the important thing is not to say, and I think it's this, what do you think? I really think it's probably this. Yeah, I think it's that. Okay, good. No attachment, no preconceptions. Lord, what do you want? And then feel in your heart. The spiritual eye is the sending station, sending out that question, that love to God. And the heart is where we feel his response. Does it feel a little tense? Does it feel a little constricted? That's a no. Does it feel open, flowing, joyful, free? Even if it's the wrong answer, even if it's not what we wanted the answer to be, and that's your answer. Always go with the highest. Always go with high-minded solutions. That's one of the keys that Swami Kriyananda talks about when he says that we have to discriminate in this world. We have to know what is intuition and what is just our own preconceived thoughts. We have to know what is truth and what is false. And the guideline, the specific, most important guideline, is if you are encountering something that is inspiring to you and it's all new and fresh and it feels like, oh, this is a wonderful path, this is what I want to do, check it with the scriptures. If it contradicts anything in the scriptures, then it's not the truth. One of the things I love about this path is that Yogananda took the vast panorama of teachings that is Hinduism, with the pantheon of the gods and goddesses, all the festivities, all the ritual, all the enormity of that religion, and he streamed it down to ancient wisdom, practical techniques, and a scientific method of realizing God. That's why we enjoyed so much bringing Ananda to India, because people recognized it as ancient wisdom, but it was clarified to the point where it was just the distilled essence. I remember leading one of our astral ascension ceremonies for someone who had passed away, for a whole room full of Hindus that had never known anything about Ananda before. And so many of them came up to us and said, "Thank you, that was just so meaningful and so clear and so beautiful." They recognized it, but it was in a new form. Master came with a new dispensation, he said. Truth is one, truth is eternal, but that expression is fresh. And so God continually brings fresh expressions. We had 3 garden work days this week. Not 1 and not 2, but 3. And yesterday was an amazing day. We had only 12 people, but the amount of energy that was put out with those 12 people is amazing. You really should walk around and just see there's 12 new pots of flowers, and there's this where the tree fell across the way there a year and a half ago or so. I have to digress and just say it was an 80-foot tree. This is a small area, it's not that large. The tree did not fall and damage the wall and the apartments on that side. It didn't break the portico, the front entrance of the church. It didn't fall and break the fence that direction. It didn't fall this direction where it could have just ruined beautiful trees that we have there. It fell, and a friend was telling me that she got a video of it. She actually saw it fall, and she said it fell so slowly because it was in the root ball, and so it had to sort of break away from the earth. So it fell very slowly. It got caught in one tree, and then it got caught in another tree, and then it just laid down. So it's been a major work of cutting it up. And yesterday Robert had the stump grinder, and there's a huge hump out there where there was a root ball with rocks in it. Ground all of that up, and now it's smooth. Of course, it's all brown. It looks, we're thinking about getting sod or something on it. But anyway, there's just a million things that we did. And one of the most spiritual things that I did was back here in the back parking lot where nobody ever goes. There's a corner where there's 2 curbs that meet, and nobody even parks there. It's sort of out of the way. And that area, about this wide an area between the 2 curbs, had been filled with wet oak leaves year after year after year after year. Nobody had ever really swept that little corner. And so they all disintegrated, and they turned to soil on top of the pavement. So we have this big hill of earth that's been created by water and oak leaves. Beautiful, rich soil filled with earthworms right there on the pavement. And I was digging it up and putting it where it needed to be, picking up the little worms. You don't want to go there, you want to go over here. And just cleaning up this area and thinking, there are places in my mind and heart that are just as funky. And you let them go, and you let them go until finally they just start doing their own thing. And pretty soon there could have been a privet tree breaking the pavement right there. Those privets are so intense. We don't want that to happen. Clarify our minds, clarify our hearts. Let no impurity of anger, bigotry, or hatred, or fear, any of that come into our minds. Let's just sweep it clean. I've been doing a lot of raking, especially at the Forest Hermitage too. There's endless raking. And you put out all this effort, you rake this whole area, And you go, wow, looks beautiful. And that's because it's the way it's supposed to be. Just like when you vacuum and you think, oh, that's beautiful because it's clean, because it's the way it's supposed to be. And that's what we need to do with our hearts. Purify them, make them shine, and relax into God's perfect love.
I'll share a couple of little aspects of this purification that Nirmala was talking about. This is in regards to dogmatism, and dogmatism sounds very rigid, and it kind of is. It's kind of a way of defining truth in a way that's kind of bite-sized, little sound bites of truth. But it's not enough, as she was saying, it's not enough to spout those things and present them to others, perhaps by way of correction. It's important to actually realize them, to internalize them. So I'll give you a couple of little examples of this from my own life. Slightly embarrassing examples, but nevertheless, perhaps helpful. So I had, because we lived with Swami Kriyananda, we had lots of conversations, not generally personal conversations, but just conversations about whatever was happening. And I had internalized a certain little construct, an understanding from my English classes that the word unique is absolute. A thing either is unique or it is not unique. It's not very unique. It's not kind of unique. It's not more unique. It's not anything else but is A or B. So Swami once said something was more unique than something else. And I piped right up, going after the English master of the universe on an editorial question. It's like, no, Swami, you can't, it can't be more unique. It either is or it isn't. It's like, well, he wasn't having it. And so we went toe to toe about unique. And what I realized now, this is decades later, what I realized is that part of why he wasn't having it is that what I said, it's not that it was necessarily wrong. What I said, it was the way that I said it. It was like, bang, somebody says more unique. Nope, 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 nope. I know the answer to that one. Nope, that's not right. That's not a helpful way to be, because, for one thing, because most people don't want to hear such correction in the middle of the conversation. They don't want to be stopped. But the other part is just, it's not terribly relevant and it's not realized. It's not internalized. It's just sort of something that got stuck there. You know, it's kind of like a little vritti on the side of the river, a little whirlpool on the side of the river. And it just goes around and around and around and around. And when you hit that spot, comes the little aphorism. It comes on out. So anyway, that was one. And I let that one go. And another one came, another time. And so I'm a twin. I have a twin sister. I lost count long, long ago. How many people have asked, oh, are you identical? You can't be. Well, so one fine day, Swami asked me, oh, are you identical? Swami, you can't be. Oh, yes, you can. And it was like, okay, I don't understand how that's possible. I had the good grace to let it go. I figured some things are explained in eternity or whatever. And come to find out some years ago that there is such a thing as semi-identical twins. Go figure. Same egg got fertilized twice. Semi-identical twins. Very rare. 1 in 500,000, 1 in a million, something like that. I mean, very unusual. So in his little way, he was right. Even if he didn't know exactly how or why, he was right. But what I realized is he had a radar for breaking. Now, you have to realize, part of us living in the same house with him was a lot of agreement and a lot of trust. And part of that trust was, Swami, if you want to break something in my consciousness apart, go ahead, because it evidently needs to be broken, such as little dogmas like, you can't have more unique or very unique or etc. I mean, what he was kind of saying is unique can be relative to other uniquenesses, more than anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But the bottom line is, he was saying, don't be dogmatic. Don't just sort of bring out what I always say, No, don't always say. It's the truth. It should be internal, and it should be ever new. It's for the moment. I remember the very first time I ever had an interview, I just felt, and I had the interview. Friends of mine were waiting for me. They didn't have an appointment. But at the end of the interview, it had gone. It wasn't a long time, but it was very sweet. It was very helpful. I just had this thought, and I wanted him to know that we were friends. And so I just, just as I was leaving, Swami, can I? And I said, sure. So they came in, and I just introduced them, said who they were, and I just said, Swami, we're friends. And it's a little odd. It's a little non sequitur. I mean, what is he going to say? Okay, wonderful. But I just felt like I wanted him to know, and I wanted his blessing on it. And, off script, it never mattered to him. He was always in the moment, always present with God in the moment. And it's not as if the moments were all easy, that they were all just, I remember a time in India. It's interesting, I was on a tour, I was on a lecture tour, and I had to shift hotels, and so I was finally in the hotel that we were going to stay in, and I get this call from Swami, and the fellow that he had put in charge of the monks had just left under very odd circumstances and was just gone. As far as anybody could tell, he was gone permanently, and in fact, that's how it turned out. And it really hurt Swami. He had a beautiful experience with this man and a soul connection on some level, a really, really sweet, deep soul connection. And after whatever, I don't know how long it had been, a year or something, he was gone. And he just disappeared. And it was really hurtful. And Swami was right with that. It's not like you just sort of wish it away. Oh, yeah, I don't grieve. I'm tough. No, he wasn't tough like that. If he was grieving, he grieved. He didn't spend 20 years grieving, but he might spend 10 or 20 minutes and really be there with it. It was hurtful. So, he would experience those things. He just didn't get stuck in them forever. And in a strange way, it's like that too was an aspect of ever new joy. Because it was like Divine Mother saying, I can be with you when it's not so easy. I can be with you when it's in fact quite difficult and uncomfortable, but I'm still there. I'm still with you. And that aspect of, I'm honored to have been able to be with him in that way, and just to see He was weeping on the phone, and I was nothing much I could do about it. I was stuck in Bombay in a hotel facing, a packed schedule for the next 5-6 days, which is exactly what it ended up being. We had 250 people at this workshop. I mean, the place was crammed to the walls. We set a record. People asked questions at the end of the program, and that went on for 45 minutes or an hour. Finally, they kicked us out of the hall, and we went into the foyer of the hall. That went on, questions went on in that place for another 45 minutes or an hour, and then we got kicked out of there. So then I said, well, I'm going back to the hotel. So people followed me back to the hotel, and the questions went on for another half hour, 45 minutes in the lobby of the hotel. And then finally I said, okay, look, I'm all talked out because I've got a program tomorrow. There's enough is enough here. But, there was this grace moving through, and when God's blessing comes, sometimes it comes in unusual forms. I love this reading. I remember struggling with this reading, Beware of False Prophets. It was like, ooh, there are false prophets out there. But it really, in another way, Christ is just saying, beware of scams, beware of phishing schemes, beware of that which is false, beware of that which is trying to take from you rather than give to you. And okay, that's good, but you don't live your life in fear. It's just develop the awareness, develop the aura, develop that internal perception. And it's like, if it just bounces off you when it's not of God. It doesn't penetrate, it doesn't get stuck inside of you. That's how we need to be in this world, just to be with God in the moment, whether the moment is outwardly easy, friendly, lovely, or whether it's difficult. It's still God's presence. And being with God under any circumstances beats being outside of God, even under the best of circumstances.
Where has my love gone? Long are the nights. Now that she's left me, dimmed my delights. Where is my love friend? Passed she this way? Saw you her smile? Ah, what did she say? Ah, passed she here, my sweetheart, passed she here. Sweet was her promise when first we met. Whispers of heaven made me forget heartaches and labors, earth-searing pain. Rest now, she said, you've found love again. Ah, past she here, my sweetheart, past she here. Surely she lied not, heaven did shine, piercing the darkness, love then was mine. Could she not linger, must even she rise and depart like mist on the sea. Ah, past cheer, my sweetheart, past cheer. Life's made of dreams, friend, dreams that must break, quickly dispersing when we awake. Strange that when love calls, memory stays, crying across the tides of our days. Ah, past cheer, my sweetheart, past cheer. There by my bed she left me a note. Can you explain these words that she wrote? Seek me, she said, love, out on the sea. Boundless the reaches of true love must be. Ah, past cheer, my sweetheart, past cheer.